What I'm going to do. Ta-da! Okay. So welcome to this Ecotone event. This is an introduction to the connection practice. Hang on one second. Of course, I have to cough right at the beginning. Um, all right. So the connection practice, self-empowerment for life, is a practice that actually uses the basics of two well-established techniques. And the woman who discovered that these two techniques work very, very well together is Rita Marie Johnson. She is American. She is formerly a Unity minister, and she was living in Costa Rica at the time. And she had studied Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. And she had also studied the techniques from the HeartMath Institute, which is based in California. And she had this big aha moment that these two practices really supported each other very well. So she got permission from both the Center for Nonviolent Communication and the HeartMath Institute to put the basics of these into a practice, which is called the connection practice. And so you'll see there's a little equation there. It says empathy plus insight equals connection. Well, the nonviolent communication part is feelings and needs, and that is how we get to empathy. Empathy for ourselves and empathy for another person. And then the heart math piece, which has a technique that's called the quick coherence technique. That is how we have the potential to gain some insights we might not have been able to get just from our brain.
Sorry, what
And
did
so
you call it? The what technique?
the what? The quick coherence. Excuse me. Yeah, the quick coherence technique. And we're going to see more about that as we go down here. So this is just our little connecting activity. What is your name and what is your passion? So I am Sharon Abreu, and I have multiple passions, but my main passion is healing, whether it's through connection practice, whether it's through music, whether it's through envisioning how a regenerative economy could function. My passion is healing for
Love it.
myself and others. Bobby, you want to share?
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Baba, and I am settling into my passion of being a connector, which I think ties to some of what Sharon was saying as far as healing. But I love connecting people to others, connecting to nature, connecting to myself. So moving slow and connecting is my passion.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
I love it. Karen?
I love both of those. I think right now, these days, my passions are connecting agriculture, food, nutrition, and health, human and ecological health, and finding ways to make them all enhance one another instead of what we have now, which is sort of damaging each other.
Thank you. Okay, great. Let's move on. We know a little teeny bit about each other now. What is the connection practice? Let's see. I'm going to see if I can just make this a bit smaller here so I can see the full screen. Okay. Um, what is the connection practice? Well, it is a social emotional skill that unites empathy and insight using these two practices I just mentioned to meet challenges in life. And I was really inspired to use this technique to introduce it to the folks that are working on regenerative economics because we know what we're up against. And even when John talks about people just glazing over or walking out of the room, when you're talking about a paradigm shift. So it can help us meet challenges that we're already facing and that we may face in the future. It transforms turmoil into creative solutions, and that can really happen through the quick coherence technique, and I'll go into that a little bit. Empathy is attained through a conscious connection to feelings and needs. That's the nonviolent communication part. Insight is accessed through heart-brain coherence. Well, what the heck is that? What do we mean when we say coherence? We mean, and I'm jumping the gun because there's a slide on this, but it means that your brain and your heart and your emotions that are, going through you, they are all in alignment and in sync with each other. And that quick coherence technique really helps us to get to that place, calm and centered. And then we can really go into our hearts, which the heart has its own wisdom. And we can get some insights and solutions to things that we were not able to access before. And the reason I am teaching this right now is because back in 2011, my partner and I were invited to come and do music for this foundations course for the connection practice that was being taught in our general vicinity. And we got to take the course for free for providing music. And we were so impressed with the technique, with the practice, that we ended up getting certified to teach it. And that involved quite a number of steps. We had to facilitate small groups within one of the courses that was being taught, and we ended up going to Costa Rica to do that. And we were small group facilitators for master's degree students at the United Nations University for Peace in Costa Rica. And that's another whole story, which I'll share with you sometime because it's quite interesting. Then we had to do teach backs and get evaluated and get certified for different levels of teaching the practice. So, feelings and needs. Can you all see the whole screen there okay? Karen, are you okay? You with us? Okay. So, positive feelings. When we have positive feelings, those are signals of a perception of our needs being met. When we have negative feelings, those are signals of a perception that our needs are not being met. And when we talk about needs, we're talking about universal needs that everyone has. And you can see that on your feelings and needs sheet. So we can sink into misery if we identify too strongly with our negative feelings. And this is why we name our feelings and then move on to naming our needs. If we're not aware of what's happening in us and what we're reacting to and what's moving in us, how can we process it? So we encourage people to say, yes, no, name your feelings. And then we can look at what the needs are underlying those feelings and see what needs are not being met or what needs are being met. You can process a celebration as well as you can process a challenge with this practice. So together, these help us to liberate. They help liberate ourselves from the negative charge and move us into self-empathy. Because really, it's like putting on your air mask, your oxygen mask first on the plane. If you're not giving empathy to yourself, it's going to be really difficult to give empathy to others. Okay, this is one of my favorite slides right here. Creating a pause between stimulus and response. Have you guys heard of the pause before? Well, the pause is amazing, and it is a very, very split second between any stimulus and any response, because we're constantly responding to stimuli, all throughout the day. And we don't think about the fact that there is this split second space in between stimulus and response. And in that space is our power to choose how we are going to respond to that stimulus. So in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And this quote is attributed to Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. And he wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. which I read at a time in my life when I was quite depressed. And I have to say, it was a hard book to read, but it really helped. It it put a lot of things in perspective for me. Okay. Oh, wait, hang on. So connection. That's really what we want. It's called the connection practice because we want to be able to connect with what's going on in ourselves so we can process that and then we can connect with other people. So that is what we do between stimulus and response, that split second pause in which we can make a conscious choice rather than a knee jerk reaction, which happens. I mean, it just happens so quickly. So to really go, whoa, you know, and say, no, I'm not going to just respond out of habit or fight or flight. I'm going to just make a decision how I'm going to respond to this right in this second. So it gets out of the way what we don't want, what we call irrational reactions, which are, largely based on, habit, really, and provide access to what we do want, which is accessing our best intelligence. And that brings us back to the equation. Empathy plus insight equals connection. Okay. What is coherence? Okay, so I talked about this, I kind of jumped the gun, but it's an optimal state in which the heart and the mind and the emotions are aligned and in sync. So, physiologically, the immune, hormonal, and nervous systems function in a state of energetic coordination. So, when we get into a coherent state, we get more calm, we get more centered, and more able to deal with chaotic things that might be going on around us. So here's how coherence impacts the heart. And we have ways that you can actually hook yourself up to a little piece of technology. And there are apps now for this where you can measure your heart rate variability. That is how we measure what kind of state of coherence we're in. If you're in a low state of coherence, which means you're in frustration or confusion or upset, your heart rate variability, the space between the waves here, is probably going to look more like the red box there at the top of the screen. When you get into a coherent state and you can really feel a feeling of appreciation in your heart, that really, really helps your heart rate variability to smooth, to even out, and look more like the blue box there at the bottom. And that really facilitates much better brain function. So that
It's
brings us to,
impressive.
hey, believe me, this technology, it's fun to hook yourself up and just kind of see where you start and where you can end up in like 3 minutes of being in a coherent state. And I can help you with that. We could try that sometime if you'd like. I'm not going to do it today, but I'd be happy to set up another time where we could just play around with that. So the quick coherence technique has 3 steps: heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling of appreciation. And I am going to actually, let me go on to the next slide for a second. Yeah. I'd actually like to do that with you right now and lead you through these 3 steps. So the first one is heart focus, and we want to focus down in the heart because that gets us out of our chattering mind, which is maybe going like this. "Ah." So we just want to focus in the heart, which has its own intelligence. So if it feels comfortable for you, well, actually, let me go through the 3 steps first. So we're going to focus on our heart. Then we're going to go down and we're going to do heart breathing, which is just where you're breathing slowly and evenly, as though you're breathing into your heart and out from your heart. Of course, you're really breathing into your lungs, but you want to stay focused on the heart. The third step is heart feeling of appreciation. So you want to have something ready, something in your life that just gives you a feeling of appreciation or joy. It can be a starry sky at night, a beautiful sunset, a pet. Ideally, something that you don't have any negative charge around right now, but anything, just choose something that really, when you bring that into your heart, it just fills your heart with a feeling of appreciation or joy. Do you both have something like that? You can share what it is or not, up to you. Okay, never mind. Okay, we'll go on.
I was
So,
just trying to consider because there are several,
okay, yeah.
like looking at the full moon last week. That was
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah. And it's great. Just, you can use one today or right now. Will use one the next time you do this. You can do this basically anywhere, but I tell people do not do it while you're driving or riding a bicycle or, don't do it while you're operating machinery. But otherwise, you can pretty much do it anywhere. And in the heart focus step, we often invite people, you can put your hand over your heart center of your chest area if that feels comfortable for you, just to kind of focus in here. And we invite people to close their eyes if not everybody feels safe closing their eyes. So if you'd rather not close your eyes, you can just lower your gaze, soften your gaze. But if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through these three steps. And when we get to the heart feeling of appreciation, you'll just bring that, whatever it is, one thing that just fills you with appreciation or joy. Okay, so with our hands over our hearts, if that feels comfortable, closing our eyes. And just, oh, and when you feel ready, you can open your eyes at the end of this process. And I'll know you're ready when you open your eyes, or you can tell me. Okay. Heart focus, just letting all the energy that we have drop down into the heart. Focusing way down in the heart. And then let's breathe slowly and evenly as though we're breathing into our hearts and out from our hearts. And now bringing in that feeling of appreciation right into your heart, whatever's easy for you. It's like filling your heart with a big smile. Okay. Just checking in to see how you both are feeling.
It made me smile. And actually, something else came to me, not the moon. We finally had some rain, and our rose bushes started blooming. And we have this one that's got these gigantic red roses with the quintessential rose fragrance. It just every time I go past, I stop and smell the roses. It just makes me smile. They're so gorgeous.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you.
I was gonna say that was really beautiful. I feel like I just went into a childhood place of daydreaming. I started with one thing I was calling into my heart and then just started daydreaming. So thank you for that time.
Hey,
Nice.
it's like I realize, I teach singing and I realized that the connection practice, is really it's similar to singing in that, what you ideally want is to feel like you're giving yourself an inner massage. It's really self-care, you know? And then it's something you can bring. You can share that, that gift with the world, Just that just came to me. Okay, let's go on now. Okay, so now this is interesting because there has been research done on this and the impact of coherence performance within organizations. So this was conducted by the HeartMath Institute, and you can see the gray bars are before 6 weeks of HeartMath training. And believe me, you can you're just going to do a little bit of the quick coherence, and that's going to help you a lot. So the gray bars are before the heart math training, and the blue bars are after the heart math training. So you see, the first column there is tired. 45% of people were tired before the training, and then they were just saying my overall state is tired, and then that went down to 26% of people saying my overall state is tired. And you can see that the same pattern with every category, whether it's exhausted, depressed, anxious, annoyed, or angry, all of those feelings minimized after doing this training. And I think that's really great. And I also know that it doesn't take 6 weeks of training. Although, what I do want to say is this is a practice. So it's something you want to practice. You really do want to practice it. Um, okay. Coherence creates emotional safety in relationships, groups, and in the world. So whether it's your family, it's colleagues, it's somebody you might encounter that says, "Oh, that's whatever it is," it gives us that pause where we might have had one reaction, and we have another reaction that actually allows us to connect to people that it might initially seem it's impossible to connect to. And it leads us into our best thinking and our insights, which, by the way, we haven't quite gotten to the final step in the heart math process, and we're going to get there. We did the 3 steps. We did the heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling of appreciation. There is then, once you are feeling in that nice state of coherence where your brain and your heart and your emotions are aligned with each other, you can go to the 4th step, which is heart brain insight, and ask your heart, what do I need to know about this situation that I'm trying to work through? And we're going to do that in a bit. Okay, Gabrielle. Now, he was a little boy in the very, very first connection practice class. He was one of the first students that was taught the connection practice in Costa Rica. And Gabriel he's adorable and he was a holy terror. He was acting out, he was getting angry, he was pulling his sister's hair and acting out in class. And when his parents and his teacher asked him what was wrong, he had no idea. He did not know. And so they decided to use this new practice with Gabrielle. And so on this next slide, you'll see this is a rendering of what Gabrielle described here. What is happening? What's your problem? Well, I'm very angry. I'm acting out on my brother and sister. I'm pulling my sister's hair. My mom has to hold me back. I'm just really angry. Well, let's do heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling of appreciation. So, what did Gabriel say he appreciated? What really filled him with joy? Being on the beach with the dolphins, the swimming and jumping out of the water with his favorite toy. That's what he appreciated. And then they led him into a heart brain insight. Gabrielle, go ahead and ask your heart, what do I need to know? And what he said was, I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm staying up at night. I'm looking at my picture books under the covers. And when my mom comes to check on me, I pretend to be asleep, but I'm really not. And then I wake up in the morning. My mom wakes me up and I'm angry because I'm tired. And that is what he came up with, which he had no idea before. So it's just one, it's an adorable, example and a real example of what a child came to. And I've seen kids just remarkable what kids can do.
And it's remarkable that he had the insight and he shared it.
Yeah. My partner and my partner is also a certified trainer, and I'm a curriculum instructor too. So we had the opportunity to go into a third grade class here in our local public school and work with the third graders there and teach them 6 lessons and continue the practice with them. And we had asked a volunteer student in this third grade class to come up to the front of the class and do a demonstration with us of heart brain insight. And one little boy raised his hand, and he had been a student of mine when he was in preschool. He had been a music student of mine, and he was on the autism spectrum. He had an adult aide in the classroom with him. And this little guy raised his hand, came up to the front of the class, and did the most beautiful example of heart brain insight you could imagine. And his problem was around he just wanted to play video games all the time. And his parents were telling him he can't play video games all the time. And his heart and his appreciation that he chose was actually playing one of his favorite video games. But he just described his feelings and his needs. I mean, just so beautifully. And it was like when he described his situation, it was very poetic, and this is a little third grade boy with autism. It was just it's one of the highlights of my life.
Did he share what he needed? His
Yes, he sure
insight?
did. He sure did. He needed time to play and he needed time to rest. And he also understood that there has to be a time for that and then a time to do your homework and other things. That there has to be a balance. Okay, so now this slide is a little funny because it says that Rita Marie is going to do a demonstration, but it's not Rita Marie, it's me. I need to get a new slide that has me on it. Rita Marie is my teacher, Rita Marie Johnson. Anyway, so I'm going to do with you a demo. And what I'm going to do is to stop sharing my screen here. And I'm going to share a screen with my digital connection practice boards. Okay. See, yes, we are. Okay. And I'll show you how this works. I have to find my boards. My boards. No, 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 no. I have so many things on my screen. Let's see. Oh, that's feelings and needs. Here is my board. Da, da, da. Is this it right here? Hang on a second. Oh, hang on a second. So I'm going to actually go out of this for a sec. Let me see how I can do this here. I want to bring that up. I got my boards here. Okay, so maybe that'll help. Try that again. Here we go. Woohoo! Okay. Can you guys see that all right? This is my connection practice board. Let's see. I'm trying to get this to go a different way. Okay, hang on a second. I'm trying to reorder how I see you guys, and that didn't quite work. I'm gonna try this one more time. Okay, so you see here on the screen it says connection practice, empathy plus insight equals connection. Can you see that okay? All right. So what I'm going to tell you a situation. And this is a challenge for me. And I see where it says the on line one there, it says my challenge or celebration. So I'm going to put a challenge in there, and I'm going to start with the moment that triggered me. So my situation was that I'm a member of a group called an Environment and Climate Caucus. And the chair of the caucus and we have a disagreement over the issue of nuclear energy. He's very much pro-nuclear energy, and I am pretty strongly against the use of nuclear energy. So he had said he was going to put together within this caucus, he was going to put together a task force to study whether nuclear energy is dangerous or if it's safe, and now in the time we're living in. And so various ones of us were suggesting different resources to him. And any resource I suggested, he just said, "Oh, that's no good. That's not reliable." And his name is Steve. So I'm going to put when Steve said, "Oh, that's not a reliable source." And he did that like 3 times to sources that I suggested. And then I felt, okay, so this is how we're going to process through any situation we have. So in this case, when Steve said, "Oh, that's not a reliable source," I felt what do you think I might have been feeling there? Can you see the feelings list there? Okay, should I make that a little bigger? That better?
About angry,
I felt
dismissed,
angry. I did. I felt angry.
a little bit of paternalism there.
Oh yeah. What else do you think I might have been feeling?
I think Karen said dismissed already or hurt.
Oh, did you say dismissed and hurt? Yeah, and you know what? There isn't a tab for dismissed, but guess what? I have tabs at the bottom here that I can use and just write on if there's a feeling or a need that is not actually already on a tile.
Discouraged?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little humiliated, especially if other people witness that.
Yeah. Let's see. Humiliated. Okay, we're going to make a new one for that. Hum, oop, humiliated. Mm-hmm. Now that's an interesting one. Yeah, okay. No, that's good. That's perfect. Oh, actually, let me say one thing about feelings. There is a fine line sometimes between a feeling and a judgment. I want to stay with my feelings. And sometimes, like I noticed a couple of the ones that you guys tossed out, to me, they feel like feelings, but there is an element of judgment in them because, like if you say dismissed, well, I can't feel dismissed unless somebody did that to me. Somebody dismissed me. So that kind of borders on judgment. Humiliated also. Well, why do I feel humiliated? Because somebody humiliated me, right? So those are kind of border on judgment, but I still think they're feelings, so I'm going with them. Any other ones? I'm going to choose frustrated. I was really
Mm-hmm.
frustrated.
Yeah. And upset, of course. That
Yeah, I was
kind of
I was
contained,
I was
and
upset.
resentful.
If I could have
Yep.
jumped through that Zoom screen, I would have. Resentful, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, so I was feeling all these things. I was also feeling confused because I'm starting to doubt my own judgment. I'm going, are these really not reliable sources? Do I need to be doing more research into these that they're, Steve says they're not reliable, you know? So I was starting to doubt myself. Okay, so those are basically my feelings. Okay, so now let's move over. Here we go. We're moving over to okay, so all of these feelings have needs underlying them. Let's see what those needs might be. Clearly, these are going to be because I'm in an angry and upset and frustrated situation. These are going to be needs of mine that are not being met. Good morning. Oh, let me see. I don't have all of them. There we go.
To be heard.
To be heard, yes. I had a need to be heard.
Well, appreciation
Yeah,
from him of you and your intellect.
yeah,
I think confidence, you started doubting yourself,
that's right. Yes, I did. I had a need for confidence at that point.
and respect. He was definitely not expressing respect.
No, he was not.
I said maybe the shared reality piece.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
What was that? Shared reality?
Shared reality. Yep.
This is related to my mind, but hope. You didn't need for hope.
Yeah, because I was actually feeling, we didn't put that on the board, that's fine, but I was actually feeling kind of hopeless. I was also feeling a need for trust. I mean, because I didn't trust that he was
Mm.
being fair and on the up and up in this practice. I thought he was too
Mhm.
attached to what he wanted the results of this to be.
And balance too. Just thinking about the control that Steve was taking over creating
Yeah,
the task force.
absolutely. Balance. Yep.
Mhm.
I was also feeling a need for support. There was one person who was trying to support me, and the other people were really quiet.
I've been there. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Token environmentalist in the room.
Okay, so I think that's a good list. So looking at these needs now, what I need to do is to decide if I can choose one main need from this list. Sometimes that's very hard, and sometimes you end up choosing a couple. And in this case, wow, I really do have two main needs here: respect and shared reality.
Hmm.
But I think if I had respect, I might have shared reality. I'm going to go with respect as my main need.
Mhm.
Now, because sometimes you're going to have an inner conflict and you're just going to do this part that we just did. But if you're processing through a conflict with another person, like I am in this situation, we're going to go on now and guess what Steve's feelings and needs might have been. This is harder.
Hmm.
Mm. So let's go back to our feelings. And by the way, if we can have shared, we may discover that I that Steve and I have shared feelings. And we're just this is called empathic guessing. We're just guessing what his feelings. We don't know, but we're guessing what his feelings and his needs might be. And this is how we get to empathy. Okay, so when Steve said to me, and if I had it, I would put the trigger, oh, other person's challenge or celebration. Oh yeah, okay, good. Oh, they added that line. That's so cool because it wasn't there before. Okay, so when Steve heard my suggestions and said, "Oh, that's not a reliable source," he felt, what do you think he was feeling? Ah,
I suspect he felt threatened and that
threatened. Threatened?
in
Okay,
some
now.
way, my guess is that he's attached to this outcome.
Mm-hmm.
He cares deeply about climate change. He thinks there's no way we can succeed in fixing it
Right.
without grabbing nuclear energy that produces vast amounts of fuel and energy. Sorry, not fuel, but nuclear, which produces vast amounts of energy.
Right.
And he doesn't want to think about not having that lifeline.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now
And I
let's see.
think
Go ahead.
maybe it's sort of like, to me, I happen to think that we all are going to have to kind of lower our consumption, not our quality of life, but maybe our standard of living. And I think a lot of nuclear advocates, this is kind of guessing, but informed guessing, I guess. I think
Mm-hmm.
many feel that that's a way to keep up their lifestyles.
Ah, yeah. So
So
what?
threatened in many ways, right?
Yes. Now I'm going to take that word threatened and use that as an example. Threatened actually, yes, I mean, we know what it's like to feel threatened, but that is actually a judgment. I feel threatened by you. You're threatening me. What is the emotion? What is the feeling underneath threatened?
Here.
Fear. He felt afraid.
Mhm.
Yep. I'm gonna put there's one that's not on the list here, but I'm gonna add nervous. I think he was really nervous. They wanted me to just shut up.
I was going to say
Well, and
impatient.
that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying impatient was one of the feelings listed.
Yeah,
It seems like he didn't want the process of the task force to unfold.
yeah, I got that. I definitely got that.
And I was going to say, I wonder if there was also an aspect of feeling threatened, which is the fear that you were challenging him, a personal thing of, I'm the chair, how dare she?
Uh-huh. What would that emotion be?
That would be fear too, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It might also
Feeling
be,
threatened in his power, in his decision making.
what about annoyed?
Yeah.
I was thinking insecure. I don't know if that's also related.
Oh, I think that could be
Or is
very
that a
much
judgment?
related. Yeah, I think so. Insecure and what else? I would say he was feeling motivated to get what he wanted out of this.
Hmm.
And maybe empowered if he felt like he could just shut you down with one comment.
Yeah, and he basically he did. But not much I could say.
So what about feeling superior? That's a judgment then, right? Because it's in relation to you.
In relation to me, yes. Uh-huh.
Not to derail, but I've been reading more commentary about the sexism inherent in our culture, as illustrated by the entire Epstein scandal and all the people involved. And so that's very much in my thoughts as we talk about these things. How much of it is this, oh, some woman telling me what to do?
It's amazing how much of that there still is, you know.
Pretty depressing,
But
yeah.
imagine if we taught small children, you know, to process through these emotions and be able to say, "Oh, I'm feeling triggered because of this, and I have a need for this. How can I get my need met in a healthy way and a non-destructive way? You know, how can I meet my own needs without hurting myself or anyone else?" That's what we're getting. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to, you know. I think he was feeling confident. I think he was absolutely, you know, assured of what he believed. What do you think? Does that seem
Mm-hmm.
like a good list for what Steve might be feeling?
Yeah.
Any last feelings you want to add?
Numb.
Can you shift the screen a little so the whole thing shows, please? The list.
Yeah, let me make it a little, I think I
There,
need to make it a little bit smaller. Can you
or
guys
no,
see
just I think just slide, just scroll a little so the bottom list shows up more.
that way?
The other way, other way. There you go. Other way. So
That way?
the bottom list of, yeah, no, the bottom list. That's it. That's what I, no?
The bottom of Steve's feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah, Steve's
the
feelings,
other way, Sharon. So
yeah,
the,
Steve's feelings are here at
that,
the bottom.
yeah, that's what I was trying to read. Thank you.
Okay. I might add that we had a shared feeling of being frustrated.
Hmm.
Should we go on to needs?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good, yeah. Because needs is really the feelings help us get to the needs. And the needs are where the real juice is. Okay, so in this situation where Steve is feeling, possibly, we're guessing, right? Afraid, nervous, annoyed, insecure, yet confident in his own beliefs, but insecure maybe in the process we were going through, frustrated and impatient. What do you think his needs might have been? What might he have been needing in that moment?
Validation.
Okay, let's see. Validation would be from someone else, right?
Yeah, I guess that's a judgment again.
Yeah, but what's underneath it? That's where we dive into that and see what's under it.
Well, oh, respect from others, which is self-respect and security, confidence.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, good. Well, so let's see. Confidence, we have a shared need for that. I think we have a shared need for shared reality. What do you think? think he has a need for success. Does that ring true to you guys?
Yes, I was about to say
I,
certainty. I was like, he wants certainty about the outcome. I feel like that's the same as success for him.
Uh-huh. Okay, good.
yeah.
He might need some rest.
He might. Yeah, don't we all?
Well, and um if my feeling has any validity that this whole thing stems from, his views about climate change and wanting to not have to change lifestyle, then some of the need is he wants some peace, you know,
Yeah,
that
let's solve
some
this thing.
hope for the future that we can, he's pinning his hope on nukes.
Yep. So we have a
So,
shared
yeah.
need for hope. Maybe not in the same way, but we have a shared need there. And yeah, and if we could just solve this thing, I could have some peace. I could get to peace, right? We could just fix this. Think he has a need for power in his world.
I think so. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think power stems from all those other things: peace, contentment, or lack of peace and contentment and hope and self-confidence, right? If
Yeah.
you're fully content and confident, you don't need to take from other people, whether that's power or money or whatever.
Yeah. So let's take a look at these needs, and that might lead us to Steve's main need. We're guessing we're going to guess what Steve's main need might be in this situation. Anything jump out at you as what his main need might be?
Hmm. There's going to be somebody watching this going, nobody's saying the obvious thing.
Yes, and he'll be totally right.
I'm
He could
thinking
have,
success. Oh,
remember, we're just guessing, and he could have more than one. Did you say success?
yeah.
Okay.
What was that, Alicia?
I said success just because I'm thinking it of the impatience. I mean, the whole point of the task force, you already know you have different opinions, but the task force is supposed to help y'all get balance. But if he's trying to control things from the outset, I feel like he wants to be seen as the person who drove success and also wants to control the outcome.
Yeah. Yes. Should we go with success? Any other, you want to, does he have a second main need, or should we just leave it at success then? I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Okay. So now the next step is we're going to put these two main needs together. My main need for respect and his main need for success. I love doing it. I have so much fun doing this because it just like it's a great process for just trying to figure something out. Okay. So my main need, I'm good. So now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go into a state of coherence. And what I'd like for you to do is to join me in that and support me in that state of getting into that state of coherence. So I'm going to lead us all through heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling of appreciation. Oh, but before I do that, there is a step that is not on this board. And it's not a step we always do, but it is helpful to do it. And that is, I'm going to ask myself, do I feel, am I feeling authentic empathy for Steve at this moment? Am I really getting to a place of authentic empathy for him? Because if I'm not, I might want to continue this process of identifying his feelings and needs, especially his needs. But I'm
Mm.
going to say that I am in a state where I can actually feel authentic empathy for Steve. Okay. And so now I'm going to go on and I'm going to do a quick coherence, heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling of appreciation, which is my cat with her whole head in my hand, and that level of trust that she sticks her whole head in my hand and trusts that I'm just going to just massage it and not hurt her, you know. So that's my feeling of appreciation. And then I'm going to go on. When I feel coherent, I'm just going to go on and ask my heart, what do I need to know about this situation? And I'm going to listen for an insight. And I invite you to support me in this process. So I'm going to put my hand over my heart, and I will open my eyes and let you know when I'm ready to share. Okay, and now I'm going to go into close my eyes, go into heart focus, letting all my energy drop down into my heart. Letting all that focus go down into the heart. Heart focus. Now I'm going to do heart breathing. Breathing slowly and evenly. Still I'm breathing through my heart. And now I'm going to bring in that feeling of appreciation into my heart. Feel that big smile in my heart. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. I actually got some insights that I had not gotten previously. The first thing I got was Steve needs to do the connection practice. And then, it's really, when I see Steve, I generally think this guy's a jerk. He's so full of himself, and I just try to stay away from him. I mean, there are times when, we have done caucus work together since then, and I've supported some of the things he's tried to do, and I've been really judgmental with him on other things. He just seems like he cannot be bothered to take the time to find out another person's perspective. And that's even true when it comes to Native Americans. He will introduce like a resolution in our state Democratic Central Committee on something that involves Native Americans, and he will not have consulted Native Americans. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You know? But it's an interesting thing that what I got here is he's very impatient. Steve is impatient. He wants success. He wants it now. But like Karen, what you said is that he really cares deeply. He's not just an idiot. You know what I mean? He cares deeply. He's not a stupid person, but he is so anxious to have success that he doesn't think things through. And he doesn't trust that he is going to have the success he wants. And so the big aha that came to me right now is we have a mutual need for trust. Steve and I have a mutual need for trust. And because he's a man like around 70 years old and
Oh.
has never been exposed to this kind of a process that we're doing here today, he doesn't even know it's operating him, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh
that's really what
yeah.
I came to a deeper level of empathy than I've been able to muster for Steve and this mutual need for trust.
Well, yeah, and I feel there's so much changing these days, right? Most, in some ways, socially, in many ways, really for the better. And, you know, some of us steadily, slowly learning more about all of the histories of racial injustice and social inequities and how to do better and
Yeah.
what, just all these things. And I had a conversation with someone I care about very much recently who's 85 and brought up something or other, on the liberal spectrum, whatever. And generally, she's pretty liberal, but she was very dismissive of sort of woke DEI stuff. And I
Hmm.
thought, oh, there's a huge generation gap here.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I think she means well. She's always been a liberal. But I think there is this giant lack of understanding, which came out as lack of empathy. Um, and I didn't even get into it because I thought, well, if I try to do that here, I'm just going to make a conflict that we can't resolve in the time we have.
Hmm.
But this
Yeah.
conversation, you say, oh, he's 70 years old. You know, he grew up in the power structure, white
Right.
men on top. And he's probably feeling threatened all kinds of ways. And you want him to stop and go talk to the Native Americans. And it's like, I already know the answer. Why
Right.
do I need to talk to them? You
I know
know,
I know what's best for them through my mechanistic influence wisdom.
I've got all this education, so I know the answer.
And okay, I'll give you one more piece of information about Steve. He's a physicist. He teaches physics, and he's very attached to that. He's very attached to the science that he has learned and and believes and makes him smart.
Yeah.
And none of us, if we're not physicists, we can't possibly be as smart as Steve.
Yeah. I know
So,
I was in a public forum once where the chair of a committee that was nothing to do with this topic said, well, I actually am a rocket scientist, you know, referring to, his physics or engineering, whatever background, right?
Yeah.
I'm
So this,
curious. Oh,
go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just curious about Steve as I learn more about Steve and I think about success. Um, Again, trying to think of this from Steve's viewpoint, he probably thinks he's right and he's doing what a good leader needs to do and not wasting time with, whatever. Um, so I'm wondering if there's a potential to slow down enough for y'all to build a shared reality around success. Like, what is success for this task force? Because I feel like individually y'all want trust, but there are also people that y'all are leading who y'all want to trust the process. So, like, what is going to define success for the end of this task force?
Right. Well, the task force did its work. There was one person on the task force who was anti-nuclear. The rest of them were pro-nuclear, and they came out with a pro-nuclear conclusion with a dissent from this one person. So
And that was sort of predetermined, right? Because nobody shifted their views.
that's right. That's right. So it was really unsatisfying. um, he did get what he wanted. He got nuclear put into our state party platform. So now I have to get it out of there again. But that takes time. Anyways, I have a need for patience. But this has been interesting. So now so you see I put into my board there, I put what my insight was. And like if I'm leading somebody in their insight, they put their insight in. I do not analyze their insight. I just say thank you for sharing your insight. And then I do my action plan. Well, geez, what's my action plan? What am I going to actually do? I'll say, I am going to remind myself of the empathy I felt now for Steve, and I will call him and talk with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just going to call because what I do is I avoid him as much as I can. And there are places where we can still work together, and we actually have since this happened. But I actually never processed this. I never did it. So I thought today's a good day to really do this, you know? And so now I'm going to save my board. I just saved my board. And if, say, I was doing this with a client, I save the board and then I email the board to them. I email this very board that we just worked on. So they have it and they can go back and refer to it.
That's really cool. I like this process. It's it's beautiful and insightful, Sharon.
Thank you. I'm going to unshare my screen now. Let's see. And let me go back to let's see, it's 10, oh, good, because we still have some time. Let me go quickly through my other screen that I had there again, because I'd like to just finish that. What did I do? Oh, I know, it's PowerPoint. Pop, pop, pop. Okay, right. Let's go back. I'm going to share my um, PowerPoint screen here. Here we go. Okay, so this is where we left off before we did the demo. I'm just going to speed through this. Science behind the connection practice. Naming feelings needs reduces the reaction of the amygdala, which always wants to um, compare things that have happened in the past to what's happening now.
Hmm.
hmm As a knee-jerk reaction. That's why the pause is like, whoa, hang on, amygdala, hang on a second. This isn't necessarily the exact same as what's happened in the past. Naming our own needs and guessing another person's needs gives us perspective and is also called empathy or cognitive empathy. Oop, hey. heart-brain coherence, reduces irrational reactions, and brings about positive affect, which increases access to the insight like I just got with Steve. And this is our little map, connection practice
Mm.
summary. When the brain and the heart are aligned, you can get, well, when the feelings and needs are identified, you get to empathy. When the brain and the heart are aligned, you get to insight and you experience the synergy of both of those processes of getting to a place of empathy and having an insight. Which, by the way, you may have an insight in words. It may come in an image. It may not come right away. It may come later in the day. It's a practice. But it's kind of amazing that you might come up with something that was completely out of the realm of anything you considered. And that's really the fun and oh my God part of it. Okay, and this is how the connection practice has been making a difference and why I want people to know about it.
Hmm. Impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'd like to get this into schools all over the country. And it actually, where it's taken off the most, besides Costa Rica, where it is taught in all the public schools in Costa Rica, it's really taken off in Japan. Our Japanese trainers they have certified a whole lot of coaches and trainers. I mean, I've certified some too, been involved in that process, but man, in Japan, it has really taken off more than
Wow.
anywhere else. But we now have trainers in a whole bunch of countries, including Ukraine and various places in Europe and even in Africa.
How about Russia?
You know something? I'm not sure, but we might. I'm going to get back to you on that.
I just threw that out there because you're
Yeah.
saying Ukraine and you think, well, maybe Russia needs it.
Well, I happen to know a trainer who's in Ukraine. I've been on some Zooms with her, and she hears drones flying overhead. They have not been bombed, but she hears drones flying overhead. And they've had some scares, evacuations. And she's holding it together. So I'll just show you in case this is something you might be interested in. We do connection practice, obviously, with children. It's great to teach it to kids, and we have these fairly new magnetic boards for the kids if they are not at reading level yet. They have great pictures on them that express feelings and needs.
Hmm, I like
And
that.
huh? and here's some ways you
That's
can,
great. And even sometimes for adults, I did a workshop on the weekend and had these little emotion cards, like a whole bunch of wheels that had each one 10 or 15 emotions on them. And they all have little cartoon figures with a facial expression. And I think some people responded as well to the picture as they did to the text with
yeah,
the label.
a picture paints 1,000 words, right? Yeah, so there's a couple of different courses that are beginning courses in the connection practice. There's the inner wellness for success. And if you sign up for that course, you also get connection practice boards and the manual for that course, which basically gives you, very similar to what I went through in this process, but there's more to it. And the connection practice boards you would get now, I'm not sure at this point if they're magnetic boards or they're digital boards. And I could find that out because there are physical magnetic boards, and the digital boards are a more recent addition to the practice because we're doing so much online. Um,
I think, oh, just for me, I think magnetic boards would be a lot of fun.
they are. I have them on my fridge, and sometimes I'll go
Move
up and I'm
them
like,
around.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling this. All right, that was not there. I'm going to write it in with my little dry erase marker, and then I erase the whole thing and I start again. Then there's an emotionally safe relationships course. These are similar, but they have a slightly different focus.
Yeah.
Inner wellness for success um, is I would say, a little more business oriented, and the emotionally safe relationships is more personal oriented, but they're similar. hmm and you can also become a certified coach and trainer like I am if you're inspired to do that. Now you guys have your, things that you're really focused on. Um, but if you feel inspired, you're certainly welcome to do that. And I can get you any information you need. And you can also write to info@connectionpractice.org with any questions you have. That won't go to me directly.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, this
Yeah.
is great. I'm sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Alicia. Mm.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if the bulleted list that you just had, if the that's in order. Like, are those prerequisites for becoming a trainer? Do the inner wellness for success, then the connection circle. Is that
You
how it
know,
works?
I have to check in with Ellen Anderson, who's really the director of education, because I think either inner wellness for success or emotionally safe relationships leads you on your certification path. I don't think you have to have both. I think it's one or the other, but I want to confirm that because
Okay.
things shift and change, and I want to just make sure that I have the most up-to-date info on how that works. So I'll get you that info.
Thank you. Thank you. And just the last thing I'll say, I was like, I appreciate that I seem like I have it all together and that I'm like focused on one thing. But I was like, this is amazing because as I build my consulting practice, I'm like, I have been focusing on organizations, but I want to work with individuals and I would love to work with children or be feel equipped to do that. So yeah, I love the range that this covers. So I'm definitely
Mhm.
interested. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Oh, and
Yeah.
what I didn't mention was this, there's a thing called the connection circle, which is something like once you've studied the connection practice, you can participate in a connection circle online. And therefore, you could get together once a week or once every other week or once a month with the same group of people and go through it's a very slightly different practice, but you go through the circle, you know, and that way you can continue using the practice with situations that are coming up for you on a continuous basis, and it lets you just keep practicing the practice with a bunch of people. I don't have a connection circle right now, but I'm very happy to start one. And if you guys would like to, we can follow up with that if that's something you think you'd like to do. And I'm not trying to press you in any way to add anything to your busy schedules because I totally get overwhelm and one more thing can be like too much.
When you say once you've studied the practice, so you take one of the classes and then you're eligible to participate in one of the
Right,
online
there's a
groups.
yeah, well, I mean, you just did this with me. I think you're eligible right now. I'm going to confirm that, but I believe that you are.
Wow, neat. I was just thinking this would be great for my family to do this with my teenage kids. I was talking with my son yesterday and told him how proud I was of him for being able to process an emotion in a particular situation he's been in that was quite challenging emotionally recently. And I was really impressed with how he handled it and how mature he was in that situation. But and my daughter often is anyway, but I feel like, I've learned something. I think this is a great tool for everybody, especially young people. As you point out, wouldn't it be great if every school had things like these and repeated over the years as just part of their practice
Right.
in, I don't know, in the homeroom class or something, once a week in homeroom class in elementary
Exactly.
school. The kids do this and they deal with their conflicts and start learning how to express
Yeah.
and say, well, I got angry because whatever, he took my thing, I felt disempowered, whatever. Start having the words and vocabulary to
Yes. And you know
describe
what? It
the
also,
emotions.
getting into a state of coherence has helped students score better on tests.
Oh, I'm sure.
There is, there are studies that have shown that. And also, there's so many problems with bullying. I was actually bullied for 4.5 years in school, and I was bullied at home by my dad.
Ooh.
And we, this process, why do kids bully each other? They don't even understand what's going on in themselves. And if you're being bullied, how do you handle that? We have all these school shootings. Well, what is leading
Mhm.
those kids to make a violent and tragic choice for themselves and for other people?
Yeah,
There's so much stress and there's so much anger and it's not processed.
yeah, for sure. Because I think so much of it comes down to fear. Like anger so often comes down to fear and the
Hmm.
desire to control others or exert power over them through bullying or whatever often comes back to fear. Fear of, am I enough or will somebody else turn on me if I don't project the power or who knows what? I don't know. Alicia, you have thoughts on that?
I was just thinking about how important this pause is, like just the pausing aspect of not allowing your brain to ask to respond to previous events. Um, just thinking of like the tragedy of having bullies in school and knowing that there are grown-ups who are bullies at home. It's like we have to break that cycle. And yes, you can teach older people things, but if we start with young people, teaching them to pause before they start enacting out these behaviors, like we can actually transform things in society.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that's been said about the connection practice is it is not a cure-all, but it is a cure a lot
Mm-hmm.
and help it can help a lot.
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel like we still,
it's so connected with everything John has spoken about with the mindset shift, the work with Sandy Wiggins and coming back to the inner mindset. It's very related to that. I think if we can't sort through our emotions, we're highly likely to express them the wrong way or
Yeah.
in an unproductive, unkind, unhelpful way. I would say
Unconscious
that.
and and an
Yeah.
unconscious way.
Yeah.
That's why I thought of offering this as an ecotone because I thought this could be really helpful to people doing this work.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. I think it fits in beautifully.
Oh, thank you. So glad. Well, listen, I just want to mention to you guys, I do private coaching and connection practice. That's another avenue. And if you ever want to do that, and I'm going to get you more information about how it works with certification and all that. But I generally recommend that if people want to do private coaching, that they do 4 coaching sessions. And I
Okay.
have a sliding scale for that, based on people's financial situations. Because
Thanks.
sometimes you just want that little bit of extra practice. You have some certain situations you just want to work out one-on-one with a coach. And and I do that.
Do you ever do like a group thing where there's 2 or 3 clients with you who know each other and are willing to do it simultaneously?
I can certainly do that. Absolutely, I can do that. And the connection circle kind of provides for that as well. Because we each share our situations and we guess feelings and needs and then we do in a connection circle we will do the quick coherence and the heart brain insight all together at the same time after we've all shared in the circle and then we share our insights
Hmm.
and then we write them down and then we say how we're going to act on them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
So there's different ways to do it and I'm open to, I'm happy to do what works for people.
so I feel really open and excited just about the connection practice generally and knowing that you are a coach and a resource for folks. Like
Oh,
that feels really
thanks.
good.
Yeah, and I didn't go to that course as I've mentioned in the beginning. I didn't go to that training initially um, with the intention of doing this. But my partner and I, we had a friend who was one of the organizers of the course, who had invited Rita Marie Johnson to come and teach it over on Whidbey Island at the Whidbey Institute. And so she's a friend of ours through our peace work we've been doing for years. And she said, "Would you come and do music for this course? And then you can just take the course for free." And we're like, "That sounds like a good deal, you know?" And so we did. And we were just so impressed with it. We're like, "Wow, what do we have to do to get certified?" And it was a wild ride because we ended up, going to Costa Rica and working with a group of, I think it was 21 master's degree students at the UN University for Peace in Costa Rica. And it was a 5 day course. And it was at the end of their school year. And it was like a 2 credit course or something. And they're like, they come in on the first day and they're like, "Okay, what is this? We're going into our hearts. This is weird." And the boys, the young men particularly, were uncomfortable, right? What is this heart focused stuff, And at the end of the 5 days, these students were all saying, "Why didn't we have this at the beginning of the school year? It's a 5 day course. It could have helped us with our relationships with each other. It could have helped us on our tests." And then we had a party at the end of the 5 days, and they brought the party. They brought, beverages and snacks, and it was just quite an amazing thing. And they said this is the only thing that we're taught at the United Nations University for Peace, which is all about international relations and diplomacy. This is the only thing that had us working with our own emotions and our own needs.
Mm-hmm.
5 day course. So the challenge, of course, with it, if you want to bring it into schools, is the continuity aspect of it. What we have found is it's very helpful to have a teacher who is willing to champion it in the school.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And like you said, like in a homeroom classroom or in an elementary school classroom, to have a connection practice corner in the room where you have your magnetic boards. You have them for readers, you have them for non-readers. Um, the kids can, "I need to go do a connection practice for myself." Okay, take 5, go do it, you know, and the teacher can do a
Yeah,
check-in in the morning.
of course, in our current school system with all the tick boxes of everything they have to get through in a
Right.
day,
Right.
there's probably a lot of resistance to something like that, even though it's obvious to me that you would get through your stuff faster if the kids feel centered and aligned and not feel conflict and fear and anger toward one another.
Right.
I mean, when I
Exactly.
get really emotionally upset, I can't focus on my work at all. I'm just all over the place. I don't know how you expect a 5-year-old or 12-year-old or 15-year-old to do a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's amazing how quickly they can absorb this and how much they know that we're not even aware that they know. It's again, I'm going to liken it to singing. Like I teach people how to sing. A lot of what I'm doing is teaching people how to breathe. Now, you take a newborn baby. A few weeks ago, I got to meet my new grandniece, 7 weeks old. She knows how to breathe. She knows how to open her mouth real big, and she knows how to make a lot of sound from that tiny little body. Well, that's the essence of singing right there. But we forget. We start to grow up, we get socialized, we get shut down, we forget like how to breathe.
I started to search for, I didn't want to get distracted, but I started to search for the notes from my kid's school because my kid's in first grade. She's 6. And they're taught to do peer mediation, which I like as a concept. And they've talked about what their triggers are. Um,
Terrific.
and I feel like this connection, like teaching them to pause and connect to their own hearts, I feel like it's something that they would pick up so easily and would help them implement some of the things that the school is trying to do.
Yeah. There is when I first took the course, and it's not like this anymore, but there's still these pillars are still there. We did this whole basic practice, and then we did some other practices, and the third pillar of the training was mediation. And we had to do role plays with the other students and become a mediator between two people in our lives, and the two people were role played by two of the other students. So I decided to use, I was going to mediate between my parents. Okay, because my parents were having an ongoing conflict about this place. They moved into a new place. It was way smaller than the place they had lived in before, and my dad still had 25 cardboard boxes in the living room, and it was really making my mom upset, you know. And so I decided to do a mediation. And so I had two of my fellow students where they were playing the roles of my mom and my dad, and I was mediating using the connection practice with them and guiding them through that process with connection practice. And I found that I discovered empathy for my dad that I did not have before. In coaching my mom, because my mom's saying, there's a ton of boxes, there's all these boxes. And I'm saying, well, mom, let's stick to the just the facts. How many boxes are there actually? Okay, there's 25, there's 25 boxes, and it's just, and hearing my dad say, well, what's in these boxes is really important to me. They're my work, and I feel a responsibility towards having close proximity to what I might need in these boxes. So it was a really cool thing. And you get an agreement right at the beginning that the two people that you're mediating with are agreeing to do this type of mediation and follow along with the guidelines of a connection practice mediation.
Yeah,
They have to agree that they're willing to do it this process this way.
sure. So, what kind of outcome did you get on the boxes? Naming no names, but somebody I know has a few extra boxes from past things. Still working on it.
Well, I'll tell you, it shifted something in me. And I was able to, the next time I was with my mom, I was able to share with her what I came to in this mediation from and give empathy to both of my parents. And that was helpful because I said to my mom had told me one time, she says, I'm really depressed about this. And that really worried me, because her mental state, her emotional state was really important to me. And my dad was really challenging. And I would say to my mom sometimes, is it better than worse? Is the a part that's good more of a percentage than the part that's bad? I said, because if that changes, you let me know. And we're going to make some changes, you know? And,
Yeah.
but I was also able to share with her, now they had done a tremendous amount of downsizing. They went from a three-bedroom house to a small condo. And my mom knew she had to do that to get my dad to downsize, and they did. But those boxes remained there. But I kept checking in with my mom. How are you doing? You okay? Are you depressed? Are you okay about the boxes? She's like, well, I'm just learning to live with it. And sometimes that's what people come to is acceptance of a situation and deciding whether they can accept the situation or whether they need to end a relationship or whatever it is. We're not therapists, connection practice coaches. We are not licensed therapists, but we can take people through this practice and it can be really helpful. You know, if somebody's got a serious mental illness, that's going to be above our pay grade.
But this is a good start. I mean, especially, if people actually want to do it and learn something, they can learn a lot, right?
Yeah. And it's a simple practice, but it takes practice.
I'll have to work on that with all the boxes of family history and photos and I don't know what that I inherited from my mother. I'm afraid I have a little more than 25 boxes, but at least they're not all in my living room. Doesn't make
Yeah.
me better, just at least they're not quite front and center. Oh,
Yeah.
but it's a great framework to look at it and go, okay, why are you hanging on to this thing, right?
Yeah, or what's my resistance to even going through it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
busy. I'm busy. I got a lot of things going on. It's easy to never get to it. But is there something else? Is there an emotional resistance to going through this and telling myself, I should be making choices, or how can I make some choices? And connection practice could help with that.
Neat. Well, I think I'm going to experiment a bit.
You guys have my email? I mean, we can always communicate
Can
through the
you,
platform,
yeah,
but
can you put it in the chat? No, I'd love to have your direct email and phone number if you're okay with that.
sure, yes, I'm going to give you,
Same.
this is my home, and that's my landline. So I'm just going to put that in because that's not
You have a landline?
I I have a landline, and I'll tell you why. And this is my cell. Because where I live, we don't always have good cell phone connectivity.
Did you
I
put
can
your, oh, there we go.
I can get text messages on my cell, but sometimes if somebody's calling on the cell, it's the signal is just too sketchy.
It's funny. I went to the Olympic Peninsula with a group of Sierra Club people. It was a Sierra Club outing from here in Austin. And it was my first time up there and I loved it. And we had this big debate on whether there should be areas with no cell phone connection. And I said, yes, like if you feel you can't live without civilization, then you should just not go to that part of the national park. And otherwise, you deal with the consequences. That was my thought.
Uh-huh. What's that part of the park? What's the situation there?
Well, we just this was years and years ago. It was actually 2001. Um, I was still in the Northwest on the day of 9/11. So it's way back, but we were just debating about connection and wilderness and whether there should be connection in the wilderness. And I said, no, I think we should have wilderness where you're not connected and you can't get a signal and you can't, you know,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
there might not be a phone.
Yeah, and that makes some people very nervous, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We used to do that all the time.
Well, we live that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So then you can go, oh, I'm curious, like what's your resistance to being disconnected for an hour or two?
Oh, well, of course, everybody talks about safety. It's
Hmm.
safety. What if
Hmm.
something happens and I can't get help instantly?
Hmm. So you have a need for safety, a need for physical safety. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I didn't even
Sometimes,
realize it, but we're back on the same topic, emotions and needs and
yeah, yeah. And there is that element, you know, and I think I don't know, there may be some interesting results of processing through something like that. Somebody might say, well, it's probably this is an area of the park where everybody goes all the time. I'm not really going to be alone. Um, I have my pepper spray if I need it.
will that stop a bear?
All right. Anything else, you guys? Anything you just want to say or ask or anything? Share?
I'm just grateful for this offering. I have been saying that with life community events fill me with hope. And this one did not disappoint. I feel very hopeful that this is a practice that is spreading. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I'll also mention there's a new self-study course. I'll send you guys some information to it. That's going to be launched, I guess, in a couple of weeks. And I coach
A
for that.
new,
I'll be coaching for that as well.
which one you said?
It's
What
a
was that?
self-study course. It'll be just a course that you pay for it, but you access it online and you do it yourself.
Nice.
I'll get you the information on all of these options because they keep developing and I have trouble keeping up with them.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
I can't say it better than Alicia. Thank you. Yes, attending all these events fill me with hope. It just makes me feel more hopeful that, we'll make it out alive. Make it through the climate and the poly crisis and everything, and do better in future.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank
It
you
was
so
beautiful.
much. I feel so honored that you took your time to do this with me today. Thank you both so much. Love to you,
Thank
and we
you.
will see you soon.
Same,
Looking
same.
forward to it. Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right,
Have a
take
great day
care.
now. Bye-bye.